のスタンド、ザ・ワールドの正体は時間じゃ。時間を止めるスタンドなんザ・ワールド。
Hey everyone, welcome back to Golden Boy Watchlist. If you're new here, this is your go-to channel for anime recommendations, deep dives, and honestly, just vibing with some of the most underrated and overhyped anime out there. We talk about what works, what doesn't, and most importantly, what's actually worth your time. Today we're doing something a little different. Instead of recommending feel-good protagonists or celebrating heroes who save the world, we're taking a look at anime villains. But here's the twist, we're exploring the ones who are actually right all along. The antagonists who, when you really think about it, had valid points. The ones who make you question everything. So if you're ready to have your perspective flipped and debate in the comments about whether these villains deserved what they got, stick around. Let's dive in. Starting off at number 10, we have Lelouch from Code Geass. And honestly, this man just wanted to change a fundamentally broken world. Let's be real here, the Holy Britannian Empire was corrupt, oppressive, and expanding through colonization and exploitation. Lelouch didn't just wake up one day and decide to become a villain. He watched his people suffer, watched his sister Shirley get caught in the crossfire, and decided that the system needed to burn. His goal was actually noble, create a world where his sister could live in peace, where the weak weren't exploited by the strong. Sure, his methods were questionable. Yeah, he manipulated people, started wars, and basically orchestrated global chaos. But the man had a plan, and that plan was to end conflict itself. He wasn't some power-hungry maniac. He was someone trying to reshape society through sheer force of will. The tragedy? The system was so broken that his extreme methods might have actually been the only solution. That's what makes Lelouch so compelling. He's not wrong about the problem. He's just ruthless about solving it. Number 9 is Eren from Attack on Titan. And okay, I'm not saying genocide is cool. Let me be clear about that. But hear me out. Eren grew up watching his people get slaughtered by giants. He watched his mother die in front of him. He spent his entire life being told that humanity was trapped, that they could never escape, that this was just how life was. Then he discovers that there are entire continents out there, and the world actively hates his people. Every nation wants them dead. Every force on the planet is arrayed against Eldia. So when Eren decides that the only way forward is through overwhelming force, is he wrong? Morally? Yeah, probably. Strategically? His argument has some teeth. He's trying to ensure his people's survival in a world that wants them extinct. He's not just some random destroyer. He's someone who looked at the impossible situation his people faced and decided to fight back with every ounce of power he had. The show makes you question whether his methods were justified, which is exactly what makes him such a compelling villain protagonist. Coming in at number 8, we have Itachi from Naruto, and this guy might be the most misunderstood character on this list. Itachi didn't massacre his entire clan because he was evil. He did it because he was trying to prevent a full-scale war that would have destroyed the village and killed thousands. The Uchiha clan was planning a coup. They were going to destabilize the entire Hidden Leaf village. Itachi made the most impossible choice imaginable, sacrifice his entire family to save the village. And the worst part, nobody even knew. His brother Sasuke spent years hating him, trying to kill him, believing Itachi was just a heartless monster. But Itachi, he spent his entire life protecting Sasuke from the shadows, being the villain so his brother could live. He took the weight of genocide onto his own shoulders just so Sasuke could have a life. When you actually understand Itachi's motivations, he becomes less of a villain and more of a tragedy. He was right to stop the coup. He was right to prioritize the village, and he was right to let himself be hated for it. At number 7, we've got Aizen from Bleach. And this man fundamentally questioned the entire structure of Soul Society. Aizen wasn't just some power-hungry villain. He was a genuine revolutionary. Soul Society was stagnant, rigid, and fundamentally unjust. The hierarchy was set in stone. The lower classes had no way to advance. Innovation was crushed. And Aizen looked at the system and asked the most dangerous question: what if we could do better? His methods were definitely over the line. He manipulated Rukia, orchestrated wars, and basically went full dictator mode. But his core philosophy wasn't wrong. Soul Society needed to change. It needed to be challenged. It needed someone willing to tear down the old guard and rebuild from scratch. Aizen represented the idea that sometimes the villain is the only one willing to do what needs to be done. He was fighting against a system that refused to evolve, and sometimes that requires an antagonist. Number 6 is Light Yagami from Death Note. And okay, this one's a little spicy. Light genuinely believed he was creating a better world. When he got the Death Note, he saw an opportunity to eliminate crime, to remove murderers and criminals from society, to create a utopia where people could live without fear. His core motivation wasn't about power. It was about improvement. Sure, he got corrupted along the way. Sure, he became addicted to the power and started killing innocent people who got in his way. But let's not pretend his original goal was unreasonable. A world without crime? That's not a villain's dream. That's a utopia. The problem is that Light confused judgment with justice. He became God when he should have stayed human. His methods became increasingly questionable as his ego inflated. But that first moment, when he picked up the Death Note, He genuinely thought he was saving the world. That's what makes Light so terrifying. He's not a mustache-twirling villain. He's someone with a good idea who becomes corrupted by power, proving that the line between hero and villain is thinner than we think. Coming in at number 5, we have Scar from Fullmetal Alchemist, and this man was literally fighting against genocide. The Amestris military was systematically exterminating the Ishvalan people. They were being slaughtered, their culture destroyed, their existence erased. Scar took up arms not because he wanted power or because he was evil. He was resisting ethnic cleansing. Yes, his methods involved violence and terrorism. Yes, he killed innocent people, but he was fighting for the survival of his people against a nation determined to wipe them out. When you understand Scar's background, you realize he wasn't a villain. He was a freedom fighter. He was a refugee trying to protect what remained of his culture. The Amestris military, on the other hand, they were literal genociders. So when Scar opposes them, is he in the wrong? Legally, maybe? Morally? He's the only one actually fighting for justice. This is what makes Scar so compelling. He forces you to confront the reality that sometimes the person labeled as the villain is the only one fighting for what's right. Number 4 is Madara from Naruto, and this legendary shinobi had a vision that actually kind of makes sense when you think about it. Madara looked at a world of endless conflict, endless war, endless suffering, and asked himself, what if we could end this? His solution was the infinite Tsukuyomi, a genjutsu that would trap everyone in a perfect dream where there's no pain, no war, no suffering. Now, obviously, removing free will and trapping humanity in an illusion is absolutely not cool, but Madara's diagnosis of the problem, he was right. The ninja world was trapped in an endless cycle of violence. There seemed to be no way out. Peace treaties always failed. Alliances always broke down. So Madara, a man who had seen centuries of this cycle, decided that the only solution was to forcibly end it. He wasn't wrong about the problem. He was just extreme about the solution. Madara represents the idea that sometimes the villain sees the truth that the heroes are too comfortable to acknowledge. At number 3, we have Dio from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and hear me out on this one. Dio didn't start as a villain. He started as a victim. He was born into poverty, raised in terrible conditions, and then adopted into a household where he was treated as an outcast and a rival. The Joestar family, particularly George Joestar, treated him like garbage because he was a poor kid they felt obligated to take in. Dio was trying to survive in an environment designed to break him. Yes, he became absolutely evil. Yes, he did terrible things, but his original motivation wasn't malice. It was survival and a desire to not be looked down upon anymore. He wanted power so he could never be vulnerable again. He wanted to rise above his circumstances. That's not villainous, that's human. Dio's tragedy is that he took a relatable motivation and twisted it into something monstrous. But that origin story, that's what makes him such a compelling antagonist. Number 2 is Mahito from Jujutsu Kaisen. And this one might sound weird, but stay with me. Mahito is a curse born from human negativity, human fear, and human suffering. He's not a person trying to accomplish something. He's basically nature's response to human cruelty. Mahito killing humans isn't evil from his perspective, it's just existing. He's like a force of nature, like a hurricane or an earthquake. We don't call earthquakes evil, but we call Mahito a villain. Yet Mahito represents the idea that sometimes what we label as evil is just something fundamentally alien to our morality. He's not wrong, he's just incomprehensible. He forces us to confront the reality that not everything that opposes us is malicious. Some things are just indifferent to our suffering. And finally, at number 1, we have Askeladd from Vinland Saga. This man didn't become a villain because he was born evil or because he wanted power for its own sake. Askeladd became who he was because he had to survive in a brutal, unforgiving world that gave him no other options. He was half Danish, half Welsh in a world where that made him nobody. He was rejected by every culture, mocked, despised, treated as less than human. So Askeladd learned to survive through cunning, through manipulation, through ruthlessness. He did horrible things, betrayals, murders, manipulations, but every single action was motivated by the need to stay alive in a world that wanted him dead. The genius of Askeladd's character is that as the series progresses, you realize he had honor, he had principles, he had a code. He wasn't evil, he was a good person trapped in evil circumstances. He was someone who became monstrous, not because he was inherently monstrous, but because the world forced him to be. That's tragic, that's compelling, that's why Askeladd is the number 1 villain who was actually right all along. And that's the list, folks. These are 10 anime villains who, when you actually examine their motivations and their circumstances, were more right than wrong. They weren't just evil for evil's sake. They were products of their worlds, forced into impossible situations, trying to solve problems that seemed unsolvable. And honestly, that's what makes them so much more compelling than straightforward bad guys. If you watched all the way to the end, please drop a like and let me know in the comments which villain you think had the most valid point. I'm genuinely curious what you guys think about these takes. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to Golden Boy Watch List for more anime deep dives, recommendations, and hot takes. that'll make you question everything you thought you knew about your favorite shows. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. This is Golden Boy Watch List, signing off.